How's it going, folks? Jack here with another video here, standing with the green there in support of a certain Green Lantern of the name Rayner. Now, I'm gonna be honest here, I have a little bit of a bias towards Kyle because I'm not a super hardcore DC fan, but I really much like the character because he's an artist, and every single time that he's featured in any Green Lantern comic, every single one of his constructs are always very special because he has great imagination. Now, this of course doesn't mean that I do not like Tengen Top by Gurren Lagann. I absolutely do. I think this is an amazing story that is full of so much heart, but it is a very goofy one. A lot of the decisions that certain characters do and the plot twist, especially with season 2. Oh shit! A lot of visually striking things, but like the plot is quite something. But we have the folks at Death Battle though who have composed an entire episode on this very concept. Kyle versus Simone. My bets are slightly on Kyle's side, but it wouldn't surprise me that with some of the later happenings of season 2 there, they might justify the win to go to Simone, but we'll see. But without further ado though, let's get into this one.
Simone the Digger,
Kyle Rayner, the White Lantern.
two men born of Earth with the willpower to pierce the heavens and conquer infinity.
Oh,
He's Wiz and I'm Boomstick.
I see.
And it's our job to analyze their weapons, armor, and skills to find out who would win a death battle.
Well, Kyle is canonically
Deep underground,
an anime
village
fan.
lived in dreary isolation, oblivious to the wider world above their squalid cave.
That's where the hero of our story comes in. The young man who would lead his comrades into the sunlight at last. Kamina, the great and mighty.
Yeah.
Oh, and his little brother from another mother, Simone. He was there too, I guess.
Simon was
Chad.
a digger, content to drill endlessly through the dirt, until the day he found the core drill.
A key that activated the mysterious buried mech that
Is a mangaka in another universe. Oh my god, they are made to resemble each other a lot more. Inspired by Captain Harlock. Oh, best old-timey anime of all times. Galaxy 999, the freaking train, and then Captain Harlock. Oh, so many good memories. And it's not even my era, I just got to see those animes because they were shipped way later in my country.
Kamina named Lagann. Under his magnificently masculine leadership, Kamina finally drilled their way to freedom, seeing the sun after a life in the dark.
But the sky was by no means the limit. The surface was ruled by the cruel chimeric beastmen, and Kamina would lead his compatriots against them to reclaim the Earth for humanity.
Yay.
Scoring a second mech in the process, aptly named Gurren.
And as befits Kamina and Simone's unbreakable brotherly bond, Gurren and Lagann merged, creating Gurren Lagann.
With Kamina piloting the body and Simone the head, these two were unstoppable.
Of all the giant fighting robots in all the animes across history, Gurren Lagann might just be the absolute coolest,
Yeah.
fueled by its pilot's willpower and capable of making any weapon they can imagine.
Including missiles, a jetpack, a sunglasses boomerang, and of course,
Drill.
Wrist-mounted drills, kunai drills, shield drills, kamehameha drills, and everyone's favorite, the Giga
Drill.
Bureku.
It's kind of interesting though, in an era when the mecha anime that came out at the time, even certain reboots of Pad Labor, which of course is, I know, it's a lot more police focused, and Gundam and all that, were all going for like the militaristic approach and all keeping with like conventional weaponry. They were like, drills bruh, drills. The children, they yearn for the mines.
Side note, it is so funny that the only thing they could think of was drills. That's like if I made booze or something, my whole personality. What up?
with Gurren Lagann's awesome power, Kamina laid waste to enemy forces, liberated human villages, and fomented a rebellion against the Beastmen King, Lord Genome.
Until
Yeah.
Kamina died.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, shit, was that supposed to happen?
Nope, and
Nope,
it was
his
all
brother.
Simone's fault. He let his willpower waver, and his soul brother paid the price.
I mean, brother got crushed because of Putang. In all fairness though, younger me did find her very attractive as well. So yeah, I would have been disappointed too. But not to the point of turning psychotic though, because phew, Jesus Christ, Simone, that was a bit too much. Eventually, he got his.
After all, he was just a humble digger, at home in the darkness, guided solely by the light of Kamina's spirit.
So his big bro left him with these final words. Have faith in the Simone who believes in you. Damn.
Kamina was the one looking up to him the whole time. It was Simone who found Lagann, Simone who pierced the surface, and Simone who would now lead humanity to victory.
Especially with his gal pal Nia at his side,
Yay.
who helped pull him out of his rut and kicked Lord Genome's ass. But victory only lasted 7 years before the anti-spiral attacked.
Unimaginably powerful godlike aliens, the anti-spiral feared humanity's potential, what they dubbed the spiral nemesis.
Remember how Gurren Lagann runs on fighting spirit? Turns out that's just a manifestation of spiral power, an energy that all spiral beings, like humans, have. That's right, the laws of physics run on chutzpah.
Just as the spiral turned inward represents endless obsession and madness, the spiral turned outward spins forever into infinity, the perfect representation of humanity's evolutionary potential.
Potential Simone would use as he led Team Dai Gurren across the multiverse to take the fight to the anti-spiral.
So which, by the way, just to make this extra goofy, okay? The whole trigger for the anti-spiral to come to life, wasn't it like the birth of the 100th million child? Or like the millionth child? I don't even think that it was 100 million. It was like the population was supposed to be limited. To all like in very biblical fashion, like after a million, send the flood.
And this is when Gurren Lagann gets crazy.
Channeling spiral power lets you constantly adapt to threats, no matter how overwhelming. Simone can create portals to different realities and higher dimensions. He can generate force fields, absorb energy attacks, and even merge Gurren Lagann with bigger and stronger machines.
Creating the Arc Gurren Lagann, which is strong enough to shatter space and time with a punch.
Or the Super Galaxy Gurren Lagann, which can fire lasers that are fast enough to hit, and I quote, all time, space, and dimensions, all within a Planck instant.
Then,
Okay, yeah, they're likely going to explain this, but like, mangakas, please. Please. It's a similar thing to my kind of dismay with the portrayal of certain speedsters in comic books, that I tend to feel like anime does better in that it has all to do with like physicality for the most part, right? It's like a person that's trained super hard, like Rock Lee, who removes his limitation to be able to run super fast at the detriment and or cost of his body breaking down. Whereas you will have like just this Flash who has access to the Speed Force or something. Like one feels a bit more relatable and then you end up liking them more, that being the anime and or manga version rather than the comic book or Western animated version, right? But then there is also the introduction of then powers into a system. Like mangaka here saying that it happens within a Planck time. We're talking about the least amount of time that we know from the birth of our universe. But let's continue.
that's the smallest unit of time physically possible.
Meaning each laser would have to be moving 4.6 times 10 to the 117th power times faster than light. Oh, well, looks like this wins the award for fastest calculated speed feat in our show's history.
Yep.
Congratulations, Gurren Lagann.
Move over, SpongeBob. You've been dethroned. Oh, and the guidebook says they hit an innumerable number of enemies across infinite universes. You literally cannot calculate how fast that is.
Stupid.
But it wasn't enough to escape the anti-spiral's greatest trap, the multiverse labyrinth. An attack that imprisons Simone in his own unique multiverse, forced to experience an infinite number of alternate realities that controlled his mind, permanently arresting him in a dream world.
Except Simone and his spiral power are just built different, and after being inspired by his bro, Simone absorbed that whole multiverse to escape.
What makes this even
fucking
more
insane
impressive is that this labyrinth was 11-dimensional, meaning Simone absorbed a higher dimensional structure several orders of infinity greater than himself. The jump between dimensions is basically infinite. Each new dimension adds a new direction of space that extends infinitely, thus an infinite gap in size and scope.
Like, how do you even deal? How? What do you call this? A dodecahedron, that is a 12, right? So an 11 size would be hendecagon, that is a polygon, that is 11 size, so hendecahedron. Now, concept, physics, out. Tangibility, nope.
What? Oh, we're just getting started. Imagine a two-dimensional drawing interacting with a three-dimensional person.
Okay.
You trap it.
That's not too far off from what actually happened.
Because when Simon absorbed the multiverse labyrinth, he merged with every alternate universe version of himself, including an alternate universe Simon who is writing his own alternate universe version of Gurren Lagann. And that author's spiral power made his fictional Simon real, adding another to the mix.
Wait,
Jesus
if every
Christ.
human being has spiral power, you're telling me we can all do this shit?
This all gave our Simone enough spiral power to form the next step in mecha evolution, Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann.
This is when Gurren Lagann gets actually fucking crazy. Like,
That's
shooting
right.
missiles that alter probability so they have a 100% chance of hitting you, or tossing galaxies around like frisbees. Sorry, did I say galaxies? I meant universes.
Universes.
Simon's power was so immense that he started generating super spiral space, a higher dimension encompassing our own universe.
With it, Simon turns his thoughts into reality, letting him create his mech and all of its weapons in the first place.
Not only does this mean he no longer needs co-pilots, he can also regenerate any damage done to him or his mech just by willing it back into existence.
Like when Lord Genome used spiral power to survive quantum breakdown, or the time Nia, now the best wife in the universe, used spiral power to constantly regenerate her body from being erased at the informational level for 7 days straight.
Information in physics is essentially the ones and zeros that make up every possible outcome in reality.
That's one of the reasons why you have to be careful when you're crafting certain systems in comic books and don't make them too sciencey, because in physics, especially within the realms of quantum mechanics, free will doesn't make sense because particles are deterministic, i.e. they occupy either one or another state, and we can use like statistical approximations to figure out which one they will occupy. And yes, of course, we are not going to be able to find ourselves in a case like certain comic books where you can craft an entire equation for how life transpires, but yeah, just be careful what you're making if you want to have math apply to it. But then again, of course, power scaling, all of these things, we're doing it for fun, right? It's just for entertainment purposes. Don't take it too seriously.
Nia literally regenerated from the statistical certainty of her own destruction.
If I have spiral power, whiz, when the fuck is my leg growing back?
When even this was not enough for the anti-spiral, Simon evolved one more time.
Into Super Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann!
And
This
so
mech
did.
is so big, its size is literally incalculable. And with a drill somehow even larger than that, Simon and his friends shattered the anti-spiral once and for all.
Hey, cruel indifference of the universe! Meet the indomitable human spirit!
Proving Kamina's words prophetic, that Simon's drill is the drill that would pierce the heavens.
With no more worlds left to conquer, Simon
His
chose
wife
to wander
died.
the earth for the rest of his days, in service to others.
Always looking up, for all the lights in the sky are stars, and every star another world of spiral cousins that can live free.
All thanks to a humble digger.
I mean, when you put it like that, I kind of feel like Rayner is done for, to be completely honest. He does have multiversal feats, but damn. There's too much hullabaloo going on there with Tengen Toppa that we might just sign off.
The universe is a dangerous place. Should you find yourself face to face with an interdimensional vampire, alien dictators, or this one really pissed off cat,
Oh,
you know
yeah.
who to call.
The Green Lantern Corps. They're the Space Fuzz, an intergalactic police force founded billions of years ago by blue leprechaun gods.
And
These
the greatest
assholes.
Green Lantern among them was everyone's favorite, Hal Jordan.
You know,
Nemesis. Oh no, that's not true. Parallax. I was thinking about his evil version.
know him, you love him, you might hate him, but you gotta respect a man with a will
They did a Ben 10 versus Green. Oh my god.
as unbreakable as Hal's.
Until the day his will broke.
After his hometown got completely obliterated, Hal lost his mind. He rampaged through the core,
Oh, there we
killing
go.
everyone in his path, and absorbed the central power battery, the literal Green Lantern.
Becoming
Yeah.
the Emerald Tyrant, Parallax.
There was
Parallax.
only one survivor of Parallax's killing spree, Ganthet. And with what remained of his strength, he gave the last Green Lantern ring in the universe to a human, Kyle Rayner.
Yeah.
So, was Kyle picked for his indomitable willpower like Hal was?
He was
Nope.
just there. He had no idea what was going on. Must feel good being given the most dangerous magical weapon in existence to figure out on your own. Hey, if Colonel Sanders, Daffy Duck, Space Wheat, and a sentient box can master it, what's your excuse, Kyle?
The Green Lantern ring can do anything, fulfilling any wish its user desires as though it were a genie from a lamp.
It lets you fire energy blasts, create force fields, affect gravity, turn invisible and intangible, manipulate matter, time travel, warp reality, and erase things from existence.
Think we're exaggerating? Well,
Nope.
consider the time Kyle stretched the very fabric of space to increase the Planck length a billion times over.
That's just his Green Lantern powers.
That's like stretching an inch into a light year.
Lanterns control time and space, letting them fly so fast they can create a Speed Force singularity.
Tapping into the Speed Force requires entering a higher dimension of space, requiring speeds that are not only faster than light, but totally immeasurable. And the rings have an artificial intelligence that operates just as fast, automatically protecting its user from danger.
Like the time that Poozer Kilowog survived being erased from existence by the crisis on Infinite Earth.
The ring is fueled by its user's willpower and limited only by their imagination.
While Hal may have had the greatest willpower in the Corps, Kyle's imagination is unmatched. Probably
Insane.
because he's a comic book artist. And we know from this show,
Artist.
they think of some wild shit.
But the Green Lantern's most recognizable ability is their constructs, Kyle's speciality.
Samurai armor, pirate ships, giant dragons, actual working home
Yeah,
computers,
he's a weeb.
and his favorite, super fighting robots. Hey, that one looks familiar.
Kyle can make them strong enough to lift the Spectre, who weighs as much as eternity.
Or
Yeah.
hold back a 12.3 dimensional Big Bang. Wait, 0.3? DC's multiverse has 12.3 dimensions? That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
The ring's only downside is that it's limited to 24 hours before needing a recharge.
Yeah.
So it can blow up universes, but it has the battery of an iPhone.
Well, if you put it that way, sure.
Never mind, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Although I'd say Kyle's biggest weakness was Kyle. With great power came no responsibility.
Perhaps a manifestation of Kyle's self-doubt. Any reflection came too late, though, when one of Kyle's villains brutally murdered his girlfriend, Alex, and put her body in a fridge.
Kyle wasn't the only one traumatized. This moment was so infamous, it started the trope called fridging.
For how female characters are often sacrificed as mere plot devices to further a male character's development.
Yeah. Comics had a fucking issue with that, but I wouldn't say that it started with him specifically, but it definitely was a catalyst to an entire movement.
So it might surprise you that it happened to Kyle again.
Kyle finally got serious. He became a prominent member of the Justice League, faced off against Hal, and even rebuilt the Green Lantern Corps better than ever.
But
Yeah.
little did he know, this torchbearer's greatest journey had only just begun.
In order to save Ganthet from an emotional lobotomy, it's a long story, he had to master all the colors of the emotional electromagnetic spectrum.
There are 7 colors.
They all
each
choose
representing
him.
A different emotion. The yellow light of fear lets Kyle manipulate the worst horrors in your mind. The more scared you are of him, the stronger he
the
becomes.
construct are.
Orange light is fueled by bottomless avarice, possessing Kyle to absorb not merely his enemies' attacks, but also their souls.
Red is rage, ripping out Kyle's heart and replacing his blood with napalm, which sounds like it sucks, but it's
pretty
metal as
freaking
hell.
cool.
Blue light is powered by hope and allows Kyle to heal
teleport.
wounds, resist mental domination, and supercharge his ring.
Oh, no, it's the indigo that allows you to teleport.
Indigo is compassion, reducing his opponent's will to fight and letting him open portals across space, connecting him to others.
The final one was the Sapphire Light of Love. With it, he can trap enemies within crystal matrices and control their minds. But Kyle only mastered it by forgiving himself for Alex's tragic death.
Oh, self-love. I get it. Must be nice. And with their powers combined, he doesn't just make his enemies taste the rainbow.
The lights of the spectrum merged and Kyle became a White Lantern.
The first.
With total control over the power of life.
Wiz, I cannot think of an attack more useless in a death battle than something that makes you live.
Empowered by the physical embodiment of all life in the DC multiverse, Kyle is vastly more powerful than any other Lantern in existence.
Far stronger than Hal, who could harness the energy of every power battery across the multiverse.
Not only can Kyle instantly heal all wounds, purify corruption, and resurrect the dead.
Oh, that's not true. No, that's not correct. Even a single central power battery contains enough power to create and destroy an entire universe, meaning Hal manipulates a multiverse amount of energy. The white light chose 12 of us to return from the dead. Okay, this event, if I'm not wrong here, with Deadman, especially with Deadman, happened after Kyle got hold of the life equation. Jesus Christ, anti-life equation, my God. No, the life equation, and basically became DC Jesus. That's when it happened. Because he had limitations as a White Lantern, where he could not bring people from the dead. But once he got to the source wall, which is like the limitation of the DC universe, that's where he acquired that power and became vastly powerful. He even generated because he still has emotions that are conflicting with the powers of the Lantern, he created his own enemy or nemesis, which was called, give me a moment here, Oblivion. Yes. Oblivion was created. So they're not wrong here in saying that it has the power to bring back the dead, but it is with the help of the life equation. A very important factor to add here because it's one of the most powerful thing in DC.
The white light of life is strong enough to go up against threats to all of creation.
The Monitor.
Like the Anti-Monitor.
Okay, so it's not totally useless.
Especially after Kyle visited the Source and acquired the life equation. Essentially the source code to reality, the life equation is mathematical proof that life is worth living.
With it, Kyle can alter all of reality at a whim, even threatening the new gods like Darkseid.
The life equation, like its counterpart, the anti-life equation, is a conceptual artifact from a higher reality, originating in a platonic realm that is, in a sense, more real than we are.
So it's not a shock that the equation made Kyle too powerful.
He struggled to control it, and it subconsciously manifested a being composed of his fears and anxieties. Oblivion. Kyle's greatest weakness was still himself.
Kyle spent his whole life struggling with the power that the gods granted him. And throughout it all, he always rose to the occasion, carrying the universe on his back.
But ultimately, the only way to stop power from corrupting is to spread it. So Kyle split the life equation into pieces to found his second core, the White Lanterns.
Here we go.
And together, they shattered Oblivion, destroying the self-doubt that plagued Kyle once and for all.
Not bad for a comic book geek from LA.
And now he was the one giving out rings of unlimited power to people who weren't sure if they could command it.
So he told them the truth. You can't teach someone how to use such power. You have to learn yourself, making mistakes along the way.
But with the power of life at their command, there's no end to their journey, only endless beginnings.
Hell yeah.
Hey, remember Beerus vs. Sailor Galaxia? No? Well, that's because it was taken off YouTube for being too anime. But we've got a solution. It's our own website. That's www.deathbattle.gg. It's like our own private Patreon, with a store for Death Battle merch and a complete Death Battle video archive. It's got episodes that YouTube has banned, blocked, and censored, and there's even more goodies on the way. So check out deathbattle.gg live right now.
Cool. Alright, let's battle.
Alright, the combatants are set, and we've run the data through all possibilities.
It's time for a death battle!
I think that this is all going to come down to the level of dimension that we're dealing with here. While the power of the life equation allows Kyle to reach a dimension that is beyond the, what did they name there, 11 point something dimension that the DC universe has. I think there's a lot more than that, but okay, let's go with that one stated fact. Oh, it was 12, but so does Gurren Lagann then have 11, plus an additional one that Simone had to evolve to get beyond over. So, I don't know. It's kind of... This is one of the reasons why I said that the fight was going to be very interesting and actually not as weird as it initially sounded. But let's see.
All right, I'm not rusty at all.
Hey dude, Green Lantern Officer Kyle Rayner here. Ring says you've got a Class A galactic super weapon, whatever that is. I'm thinking
see that
it's
in
the
the bottom?
giant mech. Why don't you hand it over?
Gurren Lagann's mine, officer. Just who the hell do you think you are?
Giant. Oh my god. Giant Balrog.
I'm told I'm bad with authority.
Tell me about it. 4!
Wow.
That's nothing! My drill will pierce the heavens! Take it to Gurren Lagann!
Ooh. Oh my god. Notice all the details there with the Ouroboros and all the anime references. That's freaking cool. Full Metal Alchemist and so on. Superman? Ah.
That's really cool.
We do the impossible.
Fanboys.
Invisible.
Touch the untouchable.
Break the unbreakable.
If you ain't know,
Now you know.
Yeah, they can go beyond dimensions.
I'm Simone the Digger. If there's a wall in my way, I'll smash it down.
Oh. Welcome to the Source Wall.
fighting. Think about your fear of death, your love of your friends, your compassion for me, your hope for the future.
Compassion for me.
Life.
Have faith in the Simone that believes in you.
Bruh.
Super Tekken Topa Gurren Lagann! My drill is the drill that will transcend the heavens! Giga Drill Free!
Okay, that's fucking dope. Come on. What a fan. He could have done anything else, but decided to match it. Now that's a cool dude. Yeah, dimensional break.
The super weapon wasn't your mech.
It was me.
Then, Simone, I'm taking you in brightest day.
In blackest night, no evil should escape my sight.
Let those who worship evil's might beware my power.
Green Lantern's light.
Lantern
Let's see you grit those teeth!
Yeah, they treated him like in the anime.
You'd make a good lantern.
Simone of Earth.
Oh, he's get chosen.
Just who the hell do you think I am?
Wow.
KO! for the guy with the snazzy sunglasses.
When both combatants possess unlimited power, it's hard to judge them by our normal standards. Take speed. Simone can hit an infinite number of targets all at once. And
I mean, trying to run calculation on either of these is like a bit of a false errand, but let's hear it out.
Kyle can fly fast enough to surpass the normal concept of speed itself.
When you control space and time, things like strength and speed kind of become irrelevant.
Instead, let's analyze them through a lens more applicable to beings as absurd as Simone and Kyle. Their imagination, their willpower, and their ultimate potential.
First up,
Potential, okay.
imagination. The boundless things they could conjure to use against the other. Both could think up just about anything the other could, like absorbing each other's attacks, fighting across time, anything.
Simone did have a few attacks that Kyle hasn't encountered, like the probability-altering missiles, but it's likely Kyle could adapt considering his ring could protect against existence being erased across the multiverse.
Yeah.
And in general, Kyle's constructs were a lot more creative than Simone's arsenal, which was mostly drills. Though again, nothing Simone couldn't adapt to with, say, his energy absorption.
Yeah, bloody hell, he has access to multiverse degrees of, yeah, cognitive abilities, which renders his imagination, in theory, endless. He can think of anything if he so pleases.
Imagination is a draw.
That
So
leaves
instant-
the other main factor for both characters, the origin of their unbelievable might, their willpower.
And that's really gonna be the winning factor here, since it's the source of everything for both of them. Whoever's got the stronger willpower wins.
Both can manipulate reality on a multiversal scale with their willpower, but we can use dimensions to roughly calculate a difference. This might sound absurd for most characters, but it's necessary for beings as beyond the pale as Simone and Kyle.
The multiverse labyrinth that Simone absorbed contained 11 spatial dimensions. That's 1.3 dimensions less than the multiverse Kyle's power can threaten.
And remember,
Right.
each numbered dimension infinitely surpasses the one below it.
Which meant Kyle's willpower was stronger at a base level.
But-
However, that doesn't necessarily mean Kyle gets the edge, because if there's one thing both of these guys are known for, it's that they can always get stronger.
So to determine the limits of their willpower,
Boosted
we
by
first
potential,
need to understand
okay.
their full potential.
Right.
Simone's whole deal with
Saw that
spiral
coming.
power is how he can constantly evolve to get stronger. So just because Simone starts off weaker doesn't mean he'll stay that way.
Absorbing the
But it's also like the ultimate, like, plot armor, right? I can always one-up you if needed. It's like Marvel's Darwin +1. He always a mutant that always adapts to the situation that is needed. So if he fights the Hulk, he probably evolve into a being that is matching him in strength, but not beyond the Hulk's strength, you know? So, but this one is of course always giving him the edge.
Multiverse Labyrinth required Simone to leapfrog several orders of infinity in an instant. Simone made himself that much stronger through sheer force of will.
More than enough to close the gap with Kyle, especially since spiral power also lets him regenerate his body down to an informational level. Kyle's never destroyed something that thoroughly before.
Without the ability to easily kill Simone, it was only a matter of time before Kyle's ring ran low on charge, especially since Simone could likely regenerate for at least a week straight.
But that doesn't counter for a White Lantern. But like, I know that there's an issue of like Blackest Night where the Kyle inevitably ends up powering the entirety of, well, not the entirety, but it's like the big head honchos all for the Justice League and turning them all into White Lanterns. But given that the White Lantern itself is powered by all of the individual ones from the different corps, wouldn't that mean that he can just draw power from another one? Like, he has at least 7 that he can draw from. So, come on.
Like Nia did. While Blue Lantern Light could boost Kyle's power, he's never jumped several orders of infinity in strength like Simone has.
And while Kyle could manipulate emotions to reduce Simone's willpower, Simone resisting the labyrinth's mental manipulation meant he could power through anything Kyle threw at him.
Everything, that is, except for the life equation. It originated from a higher level of reality and would have more than even the odds.
Too bad Kyle couldn't control it. It was just as much a
Alone,
detriment to him
sure.
as an asset. forcing him to relinquish it to keep from destroying reality and himself.
Compare that to Simone, who merged with a version of himself, writing a version of Gurren Lagann, and using spiral power to make that fiction into reality.
A pretty similar level of reality to the life equation, and a level of power Simone had no trouble embracing and mastering by the end of his story.
Well, if we had to be a little bit critiquing here, if we had to be a little bit nitpicky here, he achieved that state also with the aid of his friends, so they should have also factored into the equation. Perhaps he should have done a thing here where they had Kyle and Simone go through like summoning their friends for like one last transformation into the super mecha that they could generate, and then have them fight mano a mano.
No matter how you look at it, Simone might start weaker, but his peak will always transcend Kyle's.
Yeah.
Isn't that how all of Simone's battles usually go anyway? That's Gurren Lagann in a nutshell.
So Simone's incredible potential eclipsed Kyle, which means his willpower was ultimately greater. Kyle may have embodied life itself, but Simone's unstoppable evolutionary potential would shatter even this lantern's light.
I hope Kyle at least dug the fight, because when it comes to death battle losers, he was a dead ringer.
The winner is Simone the Digger.
Next time on Death Battle.
No, why Coyote?
Subscribe and join as a member to...
This is Tom? Okay, if people had an adverse reaction to Kyle versus Simone, this is me having that right now with this, like, the battle of the losers? Okay, interesting. I'm gonna give it to the folks at that battle here. They did an exceptional job at depicting all this. Great fight, well animated, and a lot of fun. I like it when it is that enemies aren't always so brooding and so sad and all, when they can actually enjoy the fight. That's a great depiction. Anyways, folks, if you like this reaction, let me know by leaving a comment in the comment section below, liking and or subscribing if you want to. That being said, wish you all to have a wonderful day, and subscribe of course to the folks at Death Battle here, and see you guys in the next one. Bye.